Marnie Maton as our guest on today's podcast. Hi, Marnie. How are you?
Hi, Joe.
Oh, I'm so glad we could hear you. Welcome to Cover Your Assets, your podcast for navigating the financial side of divorce. I'm Josefte Cruz, and I am here with my co-host, Jade Eagles.
Life doesn't always deal you the best hand, but we're here to help you CYA in every way, because when it comes to your assets, it's all about playing your cards right.
Before we get started, I want to tell all of you a little bit about Marnie, and then we'll get started. So Marnie Maton is a versatile global marketing executive and award-winning author who graduated from George Washington University. Her book, Vote for You, Take Your Seat at the Table, debuted earlier this year and became a #1 bestseller in the Amazon Career and Development category. Vote for You is an international 2024 Firebird Award winner. The book traces her journey from suburban Los Angeles to corporate boardrooms in Austin, Santa Monica, and London, reflecting on her early writing ambitions and immigrant background. Currently, she serves as a chief marketing and patient experience officer at a healthcare company committed to delivering quality care to underserved communities. Marnie resides in Los Angeles with her son and puppy, Rocky. Learn more at www.marniematon.com. You'll see the spelling of that and her full bio in the show notes. So again,
welcome, Marnie.
Hello, Marnie.
Thank you, Joe. I'm happy to be here with you today.
Yeah, I am thrilled that we got this to work. So
yeah, I'm glad that we can actually hear each other. We ran into quite a bit of audio issues before this call, didn't we? So
yes, it's a good icebreaker. But anyway, Marnie, of course, you're on a divorce podcast, so let's talk about your divorce. All right, so let's skip to the meat. Once you decided to go through with your divorce, tell us, what initial steps did you take to organize yourself? Because I feel like it's a little different for everyone, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the reason why we've also brought Marnie on is to kind of start hearing it from other people, because everyone's journey, everyone's trip is different there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've definitely heard our story. So we also want to, like, if a friend or someone that we know is comfortable to come on to share their experience, you know, we're going to rope them in, and so that you guys can also learn from them.
Yes.
So that's why Marnie's here.
I'm happy to share. Definitely. I think for how I got prepared, I mean, I really had to reach out to the far fields of my network to find support. And I think that was like a really big lesson in the process. I found Joe actually through my sister's husband's best friend from high school.
Sister's husband.
Yeah. My brother-in-law's best friend from high school is how I found him.
Who happened to be my ex-husband already at that point.
Ex-husband. And what I learned in the divorce process is you need to have support. You have to have a mentor in your corner. And my sister reached out to Joe. Joe took a phone call from me, a complete stranger, and made herself available to me and was a friend to me and was by my side during the process. And so I think the #1 lesson when you're going through a divorce is you have to reach out, and you might have to reach out far and wide, but it's so worth it to reach out.
And you had to reach out far and wide, I'm going to guess, because you didn't know very many divorced people at that time?
That's right. I mean, many of our friends at the time still married. Maybe some are going through the divorce process now, but I was an early starter. And I think that it wasn't easy to even find. I found my attorney through Joe, because you had to find one person in the group that had been divorced to find the attorney who could help you find a friend that could take you through the process. So in terms of how do you get prepared, you get prepared by finding the right resources. And the right resources for me was Joe as like a friend and a mentor. That's what she became in the process to me. And then a good consulting attorney, which also came through a list of recommendations from Joe, a mediator, which came through an agreed list with my, it ended up with my yes. And then there was a preference for a different location. So we ended up going with my son's father's mediation attorney. So those are the elements that you need to have: a good friend, someone
Mhm.
to help you get ready for your financial moments, a good lawyer, and a mediator in my case.
Yeah, we've often spoken about surrounding yourself with the right team. And that comes in the form of professionals, but also other individuals there. So, because often you might be on this journey where you feel like you're all alone and you just need that first step to take. And it's trying to work out how to take that step. We've had like a guest on beforehand talking about coming up with even a guide on walking through that divorce process, because when that came up, when that divorce happened for her, she, didn't know what to do, and she needed to see those steps laid out for her. So it's interesting to hear you say, like, you looked around your own individual network of friends and you didn't really have a resource there to go to. So,
And we were probably 3 degrees of separation, I guess, right? Would that be 3 or 4?
We would call it strangers.
Yeah, let's just call it what it is, strangers.
Strangers.
Yeah, and my mentor was my client's daughter, just random, right? So
Wow.
that the mentor could be, a complete stranger, and that's okay. It's just looking out there and trying to be resourceful to see if you can find help somehow, to even just get you to that first step, or to start the first step. What kinds of things did you do so I feel like you gave us kind of a good background of what you did to start that divorce process from, I guess, a logical and legal and financial perspective. But what did you do for yourself in terms of self-care? Because we've talked a lot about managing emotions, which are most of the divorce, I would say, right? Emotions and just mental health. What did you do for yourself, and what are you still doing for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I started waking up earlier, and I keep a really specific schedule every morning, and it starts with meditation. I do a 15-minute meditation practice, and it's around loving compassion for myself and for others, and maintaining that and keeping it at the same time every day was really critical. And then fortunately, during COVID, I joined like a sitting meditation group that meets twice a month. That is actually remote now. It used to be in person, but I maintain that on a lot of different topics. And so that has it's helped me just get centered and focused, and to be able to move through the many things of being a parent, single, working, co-parent. And so all those things were really important. And then I try to get 10,000 steps a day. So I get there most days, but maybe not every day. So
That's important.
So mental, physical. And then the last piece is really the community piece too, like support groups, right? So support groups in meditation, that's what I have. And then there are other support groups that are important, like people that I know's parents have passed away. There are grief support groups. There are divorce support groups. There are people that, if you have spouses who have addiction issues, there are addiction support groups. And I got to say, they're not for older people. They're for everyone. And so it's important to lean in. And that's the type of self-care that I've created for myself.
Marnie, I'm curious, like, do you wish were you doing that self-care before you got divorced? And in retrospect, do you also look back and feel like maybe you should have been doing more self-care just in your own life, just even when you were married, just so that do you feel like you're a better person now because of that self-care?
Yes, I think you've hit it. I think I could have done more of that self-care earlier in that marriage. And as a parent of a smaller child during that time and a commuter, it wasn't as readily available. And COVID was the gift that allowed for this level of self-care, because I didn't have to commute anymore. I could use that time for those activities. And so currently I still have a hybrid work life. So that enables me to maintain that type of self-care. But yeah, self-care is my non-negotiable now. Like those things are things that I have to do. so that I can show up the
Right.
way that we want to show up.
Well, I'm proud of you for taking that commute time and actually putting it to self-care, because I remember myself when we both had to go working from home, I just worked longer and I wasn't focusing on myself in that self-care.
Yeah.
And I've really put my foot down now on that. I make sure that there's always some self-care for myself each day. And it makes me both mentally stronger. I'm more present for my family. It just makes me a better person, I think, overall, and healthier, hopefully.
Yeah, I think self-care is different from selfish, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think,
which people can view as maybe being selfish.
right.
Yeah.
But I feel like giving my self-care makes me a better person to my kids and my family and my friends.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. Filling up your own teacup.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to say that you gave me a gratitude journal that I thought was really cool. And I know that you were doing that for a bit. I assume you finished it, but it's, I thought it was really helpful. I will admit I did not finish it, but for the time that I was doing it, just being able to write in it, 2 or 3 lines a day about something I'm thankful for in my life was helpful to turn around bad days or help bad days feel better. So particularly someone going through a divorce process, I don't know, that could even help.
Well, I think there's just all these different sorts of instruments and tools available. And for some, it's something's going to resonate better. And, it's good that you at least attempted to write in that journal. I think I had one of those journals. It didn't work for me, but
it could work for others.
I needed to find out what worked best for me though. So
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it's a test and learn, right? And I do maintain my gratitude. I also text someone gratitude, like, here are 3 things I'm grateful for, right? Like my intent for the day and an asset that I have. And then we go back and forth, and it's a bit of a less commitment in a book too.
And do you text the same person every day?
Yeah, I text the same person every day.
Oh, I love that. So it's an accountability gratitude partner.
Moment.
I hope they message you back saying what they're grateful for from you.
They do.
I like that.
All right.
They do. Maybe I'll text you.
Well, I think Joe's helped you out a lot there. So
Marnie has helped me too.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of, let's talk about a couple things. So, I mean, you did touch on meditation that went well for you. What are some other things that went well for you during the divorce process that, our listeners might be interested in hearing? Because I'd love to have more guests share these different aspects so that, not everyone's going to do the same stuff, but maybe something that you say will click.
Yeah.
Actually, the speed of it was what went well. And I don't think you actually hear that all the time, right? And so I think some of that speed was around the preparedness of knowing where I was going to need to be financially before and after. And Joe was very supportive, giving me like a spreadsheet to sort of look at what that needed to look like. And so I think you can feel more comfortable, as I heard you say, taking even that first step, the step before the step, because I think that's the harder part in the divorce is just braving through that step. And so that was extraordinarily helpful. And it helped with the speed, right? By knowing, okay, these things need to be true and I'll be fine on the other side of that. It will be different, but I'll be fine.
I think a step holding people back is just finding out whether or not they're even going to be fine through it. And that can even probably make someone not go through with the divorce, even though they might need to. So it seems like you were able to kind of get that question answered pretty early on, which kind of then overall expedited the whole divorce process.
Absolutely. I think that having that clarity into where you are financially now, where you anticipate you might land, and there is no perfect roadmap. There are steps you can take along the way, but that made it easier to get to the other side.
So it sounds like prep work really, really helped you. And that also helped with the speed of the divorce.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How about some lessons learned?
Or what didn't go well?
All right, Mr. Negativity. What lessons can we share?
Not negative. Realist.
All right.
Well, lessons and what didn't go well. I think we all talk about non-negotiables, what you think you absolutely have to have when you're done on being on the other side of it. And I thought it was the home that we shared as a family. And that was my like non-negotiable going in. And as I went through it, I did not realize how important that was on the other side. And so through the process, we made the decision to basically allow for my son and his father to stay there. And I was able to get a different property as a part of that was a part of our family. And then I moved to another location that is under a mile from where they live. And I started a really great and different life that was very connected to theirs still, but still allowed me to start a new beginning and get my puppy Rocky and join a new community. And so at the time, it might have felt like a loss, and it was a loss, and accepting that loss, pushing through that loss. But at the same time, it turned out to be really amazing opportunity.
So I think that's pretty important to hear, because I would say most people that own a home.
Yeah. Well, you actually didn't want yours, but.
Well, yeah. But most people want to keep their home no matter what, even if they can't afford it, even if it's not going to work out. They just want it no matter what, emotionally.
That's right.
And
there's so many stories that are coming to mind of just like, yeah, I need to keep it. It's like the numbers do not make sense.
Yeah.
You're emotionally tied to the house, but financially, there's no way that you can afford it.
Right. And it's really more about that person, like me, versus your kid. Like, do you think your son really cared in the end that you moved to this other place?
In the end, now it's been a few years, and I think we're very happy to have the space, location, lots of rides together. And so it's unlocked like a lot of activity for us to do together. And so I think that's the opportunity too, is it's like how you focus your time so that you can have that time with them in that new space and starting that. Jade talked about it, right? Starting those new memories.
Yeah. Yeah. You are in a pretty sweet spot. So
I was going to say, I'm just like,
yeah.
I mean, how can you beat that spot?
But no matter where you are, I think it's just like leaning into that new environment, and it might feel uncomfortable initially, but there's beauty and enjoyment wherever you are. Like when people always ask me the question, like,
you have to create
what's
the
your
enjoyment.
favorite travel? I'm like, all of them. Like,
yeah.
The good and the bad, because there's goodness in the bad.
Right.
Experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So back to mentors, Marnie, and your book, Vote for You. You talk about mentors a lot and how that helped you in your career. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Yes. Mentors have been critical for the divorce process. Like you, Joe, it's also been really critical professionally. And I think mentors come in all shapes and sizes, and they come from different places. It could be a colleague that you work with that's maybe in a different department that you're like rubbing each other up and cheering each other on to do the work, right? You can kind of co-mentor even when it's like at level. And then I've also been really fortunate to have just like an external mentor who was someone I met early in my career. She took an interest in me, and she helped me get my first job from consulting and real estate into marketing. And then she stayed along my side. And when I went through the process, I would say, hey, should I take this kind of job? Or how do I ask for this? And then the third thing is I actually have hired professional coaches, and professional career coaches have been a game changer. And so I share what I've learned spending thousands of dollars with those folks.
Investing thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. Investing in myself, investing in all of that effort.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is, some people can view it as being selfish potentially. But you're just trying to be this better person. It's not like you turn around and say, I'm amazing, I'm terrific. It's like
better person for everyone.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's investing in yourself, just like what we've said for therapy, right? You're not spending on therapy, you're investing in it. So business coaches are similar. You're investing in the business coach to make yourself better.
Exactly.
Well, so tips for our listeners, perhaps some of the tips that you have in your book. So any quick tidbits for those in the divorce process or looking actually to grow professionally post-divorce?
To grow professionally as well as individually post-divorce, we talked about non-negotiables, and I wrote a chapter on what are my top 10 non-negotiables, what needs to be true for me at work and in my personal life. And it's very loose. I have a worksheet, or you could just literally take a Post-it note and write down what's important. And I think that my recommendation is, for some people, 10 might be a lot, but for others, start today with one thing that you think is really important in both work and life. So maybe that's actually 2, right? And as I looked at new job opportunities, for example, I was very specific that I wanted to not work at a global company, that I wanted to work at a West Coast based company, more forward view, so that I would have the time for the self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you work at a global company, you're working pretty early Pacific Coast hours. And so finding a West Coast job, having a hybrid environment still enables me to have a job I really enjoy, helping underserved communities, but also being able to invest in myself. And so around that self-care, that's actually, I think, Jade, it's like a movement away from the selfishness, but it's actually the way for us to help lift the others around us, right? Because we're showing up, having worked through a lot of those things before we get to the door of work and family, right? And so
100%.
That is my tip, is just not foregoing your self-care and making it a focal point.
And I guess just, as you come up with those non-negotiables, making sure that they're ever present, and just don't put them in a drawer and forget about them. And I think it would be important to go back and revisit those non-negotiables to really make sure that you're living the best life that you can. And if it's written down for you in these non-negotiables, that's a good start. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think if you don't have a plan that's written down, then there is no plan, right?
Yeah, I was going to say too, no, you're never too old for some personal development and improvement should you want to do it. And I'm looking at my laptop. I have very simple things that I just slap onto the screen to just help remind me, okay, I need to keep this at top of mind to take care of myself. So it can come in any number of ways. So yes, a written plan, or even just a reminder Post-it on your mirror every day. Just depends what works for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Marnie. This has been awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for opening up and sharing with us and also listeners. Yeah. I guess your story and your journey.
So now we're going to have you participate in our fun little game that we do at the end of every episode called Divorce This or That. Emotional mental support, or divorce financial.
Yeah. Which one are you pitching?
Or mentorship. Yeah.
I'm going to go emotional and mental support, friends.
Wait, you're going to choose that, or are you going to divorce that?
I'm going to choose emotional and mental support.
And why is that?
Because if I did not have people by my side like Joe coaching me along the way during my divorce process, it would have had a different outcome.
But I gave you financial information. So I guess I would just be a nice person. Yeah. Just a nice person, but not talk about numbers.
Is this how you're going to spin your answer?
You could have talked about numbers. Support did not preclude financial counsel. It just wasn't a plan.
Oof. Ooh, I don't know. All right. You're the guest. We'll be polite. Okay. We'll let you go.
Why? What are you going to say? What are you divorcing?
I'm going to have to divorce support.
What's support?
For financial stuff.
Oh.
Because I am the financial person. So neener. I know how to do that part. But yeah, I feel like I need emotional and mental support all the time.
Yeah.
I do. Like I can't, I need my family. I need my friends every once in a while. I need a therapist. That stuff needs to be addressed in a positive way. I don't want to avoid it, Jade.
Yeah. Oh, look, I know how important the financial part of it is, but my family, I can't ever replace them. So and friends. So I would pick that too. And I'd definitely be then up, to make sure that I don't make those financial mistakes. I'll be doing a lot more due diligence on my own. Maybe I'll hit up some like YouTube videos or something like that, or some podcasts that maybe I can learn from. I don't know.
Go hit your textbooks.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Hit
Yeah.
up your textbooks.
Because I've still got the same knowledge that I have now. And then I've realized that if I don't do correct due diligence, I'm going to make some mistakes. So
and you've taken your CDFA classes. So
yeah, that's right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, Marnie, thanks again for joining us. For more information about Marnie, again, check out the show notes. You'll find her website there, www.marniematon.com. Her book is Vote for You. It's on Amazon.
Thanks for joining us, Marnie, and opening up. Really enjoyed talking to you.
See you all in another 2 weeks.
Yep. Talk to you then.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Cover Your Assets with your hosts, Joseph D. Cruz and Jade Eagles. Jade and Joe are advisors of the Wealth Garden FS, an SEC registered investment advisor. The information is general and educational in nature and should not be considered financial, tax, or legal advice. It is not intended to serve as a substitute for personalized advice or as a recommendation or solicitation of any particular security, strategy, or investment product. Please consult with a qualified professional about your individual situation.
Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where the Wealth Garden Financial Services and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advice may be rendered by the Wealth Garden Financial Services unless a client service agreement is in place.